Our launch point today is the latest crazy criticism from Brock Purdy. This one coming from TJ Houshmandzadeh, former NFL wide receiver with the Bengals. He played at Oregon State. Played only 2 playoff games, lost them both. So I don't know where this guy's coming from. But here he is. Earlier today, TJ Houshmandzadeh.
I believe they did overpay for Brock Purdy. I would have given Brock Purdy $47 million a year. That would have been the most I'm giving him. I needed you. We needed you last year. You went 1-6 against playoff teams when we had guys hurt. Christian McCaffrey was out. Trent Williams was out. Ayuk got hurt, and you couldn't really get it done. I think Brock Purdy is a hell of a quarterback, but I'm not giving you money when you show me when we need you to take over, you can't take over. We need you to carry us, you can't carry us. But at one point, they said Jalen Hurts was overpaid. Now, Jalen Hurts is underpaid. Win a Super Bowl with the Eagles, now you underpaid. And so if Brock Purdy takes the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl and they win it, then his contract is well worth it. Until he does that, he's overpaid.
Sorry about that. He also went on the radio and kind of doubled down on this on 95.7 The Game. And, he's like, I love Brock Purdy first. Check the receipts. Okay. Then you're like, the same guy who's like, I loved him first is like saying he's overpaid at $53 million. And, it's like, to me, it's like, if you're going to pay him, you're going to pay him. And if you're not, you're not. The only real compelling argument was to do it or not to do it. So there are some people out that are like, I wouldn't have paid him anything. I wouldn't have extended him. Okay, if you're in that camp, I kind of get it. You don't believe he's worth anything in that neighborhood. It's incredibly negative for a guy who's had pretty good accomplishments, but it's a clear point of view and one I can respect. This guy is like, he's overpaid at $53 million, and then he should make $47 million a year. And when he was asked about why on the radio, he's like, I don't know. It's a lot of money. It's like, what? I mean, so no commentary on the market, who got what, where he sits in the market. Just 53 is too much. 47 is what he should have got. Then he insinuated on the radio that his Niners teammates have or will begrudge Brock Purdy his money, which I can guarantee you from being in that room, that is not going to happen. That is totally preposterous. And to throw that out there with absolutely nothing, just other than like your assertion, is just bold and stupid. And then he said they didn't have to pay him. Well, I mean, where has that worked? Where has it worked where you have a franchise quarterback and you're just like, I'm not paying him? Did it work for Dallas when they made Dak wait and eventually paid him through the nose? And not to mention this guy's a total hypocrite because that if the Niners didn't pay him, that this would be a major story in training camp. And then this guy would go on FS1 or whatever losing platform he's on and say, you know what, this contract holdout has become a distraction. It's like there's no doubt that TJ Houshmandzadeh would have been calling this a contractual distraction if it didn't get done. Now that it gets done, it's like, well, they didn't have to pay him. And then he goes on to say he didn't think they were that bad on defense last year. And it's like, dude, are you even watching the Niners? They were horrible on defense last year. Their defensive coordinator was a train wreck. They had no pass rush in the last 2 months of the year. Devondre Campbell flat sucked, and they plugged him in there and gaslit us and told us he was good for like almost until he basically went AWOL on them. Then he goes on to say Tua had flashes, but Purdy's overrated. And then they asked him about BA because he's BA's trainer, and he's like, they're like, have you talked to BA about this, about Purdy? And he's like, no, we haven't talked at all. So if you haven't talked to BA, so you have it's not like you have any inside sources. You're just kind of spewing. And then they asked him, what's his timetable for returning? And he's like, he won't be out there week 1. No shit, he's not going to be out there week 1. The guy got hurt in like week 7. He tore like 3 different ligaments. Obviously, he's not going to be out there week one. I mean, for a guy who's probably not going to be out there till like November, I mean, this guy's just all over the map. It was one of the worst radio segments I think I've heard in a long time because it's weird. It was like this guy's got some axe to grind with Purdy, but then just, it was like, it's not like, hey, man, I wouldn't pay this guy at all. I'd pay him hundreds of millions of dollars. I just would have paid him 47, which is in line with nothing. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's no marketplace where that makes sense. You could make an argument that Brock Purdy's agent did the Niners a solid by taking Tua and Goff neighborhood money instead of trying to push for more. So, to me, to sit there and be like, oh, he's totally overpaid, but he would have been perfectly paid at 47, just shows no knowledge of what's going on.
TJ, who's your mama? This man he pulled numbers out of his ass. That's what he did. He pulled in the most random number. 47. Where are you getting this? He doesn't understand the market value. Like we've sat here, talked about for months, for weeks. Like he is so far behind, and these, these media shows, these talk shows, they got to drum up some type of content. The fact he didn't even talk to Brandon Ayuk, who, some people are spinning it as, oh, it's Brandon Ayuk's wide receiver coach or whatever. So what a personal coach. It's so that's so trivial. It doesn't even make any difference whether he has any ties with Brandon Ayuk or not. The fact of the matter is he doesn't know what he's talking about. But TJ Houshmandzadeh, you want to talk about a guy that's overpaid or whatnot. If it wasn't for Chad Ochocinco, he wouldn't even have that big of a career because he was, getting single coverage because your man Ochocinco over there is getting all the big coverage. He was I think he went to one Pro Bowl. He's a journeyman after the Bengals stint, a couple years with the Bengals. Then he was like Seattle, Baltimore. He was a career journeyman. He couldn't stick around. So this guy telling someone that they're overrated and overpaid it's rich coming from TJ, who's your daddy. This is unbelievable. And then to sit there and say, oh, well, yeah, if he wins a Super Bowl, how many top paid quarterbacks have a Super Bowl other than Jalen Hurts? Like, honestly, that list, Josh Allen, if you're going to use that logic, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, all these quarterbacks.
Joe Burrow, they're all not worthy of being paid because they haven't
won
won the ultimate game.
Take. It's a dumb take.
It's a dumb take.
Purdy, we've sat here and talked about why he's worth it. Like he's just drumming it up for views, right? Because it's the offseason. And then like the thing that kills me is to sit here and say he does, he's not worth it. Brock said it. Look, I'm gonna fight for what's mine. Like I didn't take the big amount of money he probably could have tried for, but he still got what he deserved. This guy is a franchise quarterback. If you're a franchise quarterback, that's the price. Like I'm sorry that it rubs people the wrong way, but honestly, it's jealousy. I think TJ, who's your mama, is jealous that Brock Purdy's getting that much money because he's the story. Everybody knows the story. I honestly think that TJ's jealous because Brock Purdy's going to make more money than he's ever, looked at in his life. So TJ, he's salty, he's bitter, and it was a stupid take. And to sit there and say that, oh, if he wins the Super Bowl, he'll be worth it. You can sit there and say that about any quarterback. And this man, TJ Houshmandzadeh, look at his playoff stats. What do you have? Like 10 catches?
I mean, he played in 2 playoff games. He never won a playoff game, but he's going to tell us, all about what you need to play quarterback. And the other thing is just, that's just so ridiculous about this. It's just that, Brock Purdy walked off the field in the Super Bowl in the fourth quarter and in overtime with a lead. And none of these other quarterbacks have really done that. So there's lots of these quarterbacks. Joe Burrow hasn't won, Josh Allen hasn't won. I mean, we're just using his argument. His argument is they shouldn't have paid him because he hasn't won a Super Bowl yet. Well, you know what? I mean, then the Eagles never should have paid Jalen Hurts because he won a Super Bowl after they paid him. So should they not have paid him? Or did he just – I mean, he basically – this guy's so all over the map. So then he's like, Jalen Hurts wasn't worth it, and now he is. So it's like he's very bottom line oriented. Yeah. I just would like him to be consistent like anybody else. Show me that consistency. So Josh Allen sucks. So Joe Burrow sucks. And Lamar Jackson sucks. None of these guys that are all overpaid pieces of shit that never should have been paid because they haven't won a Super Bowl. That's your take? I mean, is that so really we're supposed to believe that's your take? If that is your take, then I can't help you. And it's like it's sad. He's on this FS1 show. It's probably going under, and he's probably under a lot of pressure to say a bunch of stupid shit. But I mean, my goodness, that's at least make a point. There's ways to make a point that you're not right, but at least you could stand on your thoughts. How do you make a point like this when there's so many other candidates that you're praising? You're and then he's basically saying Tua's shown flashes. What's Brock Purdy done then? Brock Purdy's gone to a Super Bowl. Brock Purdy beat the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions and outplayed Jordan Love and Jared Goff in the rain, by the way. All these people are like, well, what if it rains? It's like, he can't do it in the rain. He already did it in the rain, moron. He did it in the rain against the Lions. I mean, this idea that Brock Purdy can't play in the rain, what was that? That was the NFC title game on the, from behind, down 10 in the fourth quarter in the rain. So I mean, it's just some of these guys are just absolute. They just don't think. They just talk, and it was the saddest radio segment. Mark Willard is buddies with TJ Houshmandzadeh. They did segments together at Fox Sports Radio. He's trying, like, desperate to throw this guy a life preserver so he could save himself, and he just sounded like a total blubbering fool. So there you go, TJ Houshmandzadeh, our moron of the day. And I don't know what to say other than, if you don't like Brock Purdy because he hasn't won a Super Bowl, well, Jesus, you're really putting an awful lot on, like, a play here or a play there. You do realize this guy was, like, literally a play or two away from winning the Super Bowl against the great Mahomes, on a day where his defense didn't really play that great, in the second half. So I don't know. I mean, to me, it's very frustrating. It's typical. I know I want to talk Brock Purdy. I know I want to talk the Niners. I don't want to rip Shanahan. I don't want to rip Lynch. Think about that. Think about that as a premise. If you want to rip the Niners and be critical of the Niners without blaming Shanahan or Lynch at all, and yet how many relatively big name guys in the NFL media try to do that on a regular basis? Yeah. We're going to rip the Niners while telling everybody that Shanahan's awesome and Lynch is the best. That's the architect. That's the head coach. That's the brain trust. That's the regime. Good, bad, or otherwise. They get credit for the good. They get blamed for the bad. It's all on their watch. It's all on their record. You can't say the Niners are crap. The Niners are this. The Niners aren't that. The Niners have missed in too many picks, but then Brock Purdy's the problem. Well, the problem is they're paying Brock Purdy. No, the problem is they've missed on, 20 picks since 2017. That's the problem. Brock Purdy is not drafting, and he's not responsible for that. So
you're right. And there's so much more to it. So, and like, if you mentioned, okay, the show might be doing bad or they're pressure, there's a reason why they might be doing bad. If you watch that clip, that is your reason. So be better, watch the games. I don't even think they understand, like you said, the defense has been, they said the defense was okay and this and that. They don't know 49ers football. If your comment and your biggest takeaway is, oh, Brock Purdy's terrible and he couldn't lead the team because of, okay, he killed himself in his own argument. He said CMC's hurt, Trent Williams hurt, right? All these guys were hurt. Like, okay, yes, I know injuries are not an excuse, but and when your star players are hurt, it is going to be difficult to win games. So he was so stupid in saying all that. Oh, yeah, well, you had CMC down and Trent Williams. Most teams would have a hard time, going above and beyond and trying to get and will a victory, right? And it wasn't just that. There's special teams. There's other reasons. But Brock Purdy is the, person that the NFL just loves to pick on. They want to kick dirt on him for whatever reason. I guess they can't get past the 7th round label. But if he didn't win a Super Bowl, right, and he's gotten close, there's so many other players in the NFL that have never won a Super Bowl that are great. Dan Marino, Warren Moon. You're going to sit there and say they don't deserve the accolades they've gotten? It's a double standard. Joe Burrow, he gets a pass. This team was absolutely terrible. But, yeah, he kind of helped them kind of climb out of the mud when it was too little too late last season. But there's so many players in this league that get a pass, and they're not Brock Purdy. But if it happens to them, well, it's because of this, that, the other. Brock Purdy, it's because of Brock Purdy. So I don't like it. TJ Houshmandzadeh was a horrible take. And you know what? He got what he wanted. We're talking about his take today. So for once in the last 3 months, I've made Fox Sports 1 relevant for the first time.
Well, and it's what's really frustrating about it is guys like that set it up so they're going to win either way. If the 49ers lose games, they're losing, and Brock Purdy is responsible. You heard it. He blamed Brock for last year. The Niners lost games. He put that on Brock. That's on Brock. And that's how he wants to roll with it. It's like when they lose, it's on him, and if they win, it's because he's got all this great talent around him. But here's the stat that no one brings up. Brock Purdy with the 49ers has missed 3 games. The Niners are 0-3 and have been outscored 116-41 without Brock Purdy. NFC Championship game against the Eagles. The Niners had run the table in the second half of the year, rampaged in the playoffs. Were ready to knock off the Eagles, in my opinion, in the playoffs. Brock gets knocked out. They get trounced 31-7. Josh Johnson wets his pants. Then last year, Green Bay, Brandon Allen doesn't have it, 38-10. They lose to the Packers. And then last year, 47-24, Josh Dobbs loses to the Cardinals. So it's like everybody talks about Brock Purdy ain't this, Brock Purdy ain't that. Look at the Niners without Brock Purdy. They suck. 0-3, outscored 116-41 without him. By the way, what was his college team like? He led them to multiple bowl games and had a better than 500 record in the conference, I believe, every year as the starter. The first year he jumped to the NFL, Matt Campbell's still there. They go 1-8 inside the conference. So, you know what? Brock Purdy's pretty damn good. And when he wasn't there in Ames at Iowa State, even with Matt Campbell, one of the best coaches in college football, they sucked. And the 49ers, without him, look awful. So, I don't know. Maybe everybody ought to pump the brakes on the Brock Purdy. He's the problem. What did we see last year? This is what we saw last year. He had the 6th highest time to throw of any quarterback, 2.93 seconds last season. But the 9th highest pressure rate, 36.9%. And what it really indicates is that he held the ball too long last year. And maybe it was Shanahan's doing, not calling enough screen passes, not having enough, self-directed quick game, not trying to get him in a rhythm quicker at the line of scrimmage, maybe making him focus on the shorter routes and the intermediate routes. Purdy is also partly at fault. He was slow to get through his progressions last year. He admitted it the other day. I thought he kind of said that. He's like, I looked at the film last year and I didn't get through. I didn't get my eyes across the field as fast as I can and as I should. He said that. And then he says sometimes, it's because he's trying to make a play. We know he didn't hold the ball for no reason. He's not holding the ball because he doesn't like winning. He's holding the ball to try to free up Ayuk and Debo and JJ and all their other receivers to try to make plays down the field. And he was looking and hunting the chunk play. And I think, Raj, if there's one thing that I think Brock Purdy's going to do more this year, I think he's going to get to the top of his drop, and I think that ball's going to come out. I think he's going to play with a greater rhythm, maybe a greater urgency, and a faster walk through the progressions. And I don't think you're going to see him hold the ball as long as he did last year, as often as he did last year, searching for the big chunk play. I think he's going to take, the old saying, you can't go broke making a profit, right? You just keep 7 yards, 10 yards, 12 yards, 7 yards. Just keep, the aggressiveness up. Keep getting the ball out of your hands and figure out a rhythm, because there's no question he lost rhythm this last year. And once you lose rhythm, it's hard to regain it.
Yeah, no, I think definitely. And I said it last week when we talked that Brock still has a lot to prove. Like, I know I sit here defended him tonight, and I think we all should, but he wasn't without flaws. Like you said, he held the ball a lot, but I think also, his decision-making, we talked about that fourth quarter, but I think the biggest difference is one thing that TJ Houshmandzadeh mentioned is they didn't have CMC. That's a big part of Brock Purdy's offense, the check down and this and that, and to kind of open it up. CMC just changes the offense, the whole complexion of the offense. If he could be healthy, it's going to change it out. And not only that, the wide receivers last year were banged up. Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, they couldn't separate, when they got hurt. Jennings was fantastic, but he's still not that big-time boundary receiver. He played amazing. I think he's going to continue to play amazing. He's contract here, but that was the other issues. These receivers weren't separating. Ricky Broussard didn't come in until midseason, and he was trying to learn the ropes after all the adversity he, went through. And Jacob Cowing was a rookie, and he was still trying to go through his growing pain. So you got to understand last year too, the receivers, they weren't at the echelon we thought they were going to be, you know, so that is another factor. So hopefully those receivers can get open. And that's one of the reasons he was holding the ball, because these guys couldn't get open. And then, yeah, the offensive line was caving in, and then he was making hero ball passes. So there was a lot of reasons why he struggled, but definitely I think Brock knows he didn't play, you know, like a $53 million quarterback, and he knows he can do better. And I think this offseason he's going to attack it. He already has. They're hungry. He's working with Ricky. He's working with, you know, the team already before minicamp and OTAs, and I think that's what they're going to try to do. So if you can improve that, I think the team's going to score more. And also, red zone was anemic last year. If you can fix the red zone, you'll have a better chance. And special teams put them in bad positions. Special teams was bad. The defense couldn't, you know, get turnovers, and the run defense was getting ran through. So all those factors led to the 49ers offense being in bad positions throughout the game. So if all of those factors can change, then it's going to be a better team. And I think Brock Purdy knows he has to prove that he's worth all that money. So I think people will be surprised this year. The people that are doubting him are going to be very surprised. Oh, wow, Brock's back to those first 2 years, you know? So we'll see.